What's up, BooTube? Let me put my blanket. I'm frigid, yo. It's currently 12:21 in the morning right now, and it is currently Saturday, so it's like officially 2 days after Turkey Day. I'm still recovering from a food coma 2 days later, and this is my. I know this is late because this episode premiered around November 22nd. But this title seems appropriate for this weather because it's The Flash season 3. Hang on, I can't see. The Flash season 3, episode 7, titled Killer Frost. If you're wondering, I'm looking at my book because everything's written here. Yeah, episode 7, titled Killer Frost, which is appropriate for this damn weather because I feel like she's here right now. Anyway, I have to be quiet, like I said in previous videos where it's around like 12. I have to be kind of quiet because if you have not watched those videos, shame on you. And the reason why I'm quiet in this video, like I said, it is 12:22 in the morning right now, and I do not live alone. And I share a wall with someone who gets very cranky if you wake him up, so I'm not doing that. So I'm sorry if you can't hear me. But anyway, leaving off from episode 6, this speed god named Savitar shows up out of nowhere when the Flash, Detective West, follow Wally to try to find Dr. Alchemy, and they end up finding Dr. Alchemy only for all the shiitake going wrong, because they find Dr. Alchemy. Wally picks up this rock-looking thing that Dr. Alchemy dropped and ends up turning into a giant cocoon. And Savitar comes out of nowhere and pretty much has Barry by the neck against a wall, and for some oddball reason, Barry's the only one who could see him, right? Pretty much, we start off with episode 7 with Savitar pretty much taking Flash for a beatdown pretty much across the city at incredible speeds. And obviously it hurts. Obviously we can't see it hurts because it's speedsters. Not gonna lie to you, I'm kind of disappointed that we get another thing related to speedsters, because we got Reverse Flash, I forgot his name already, but we got that one speedster who we thought was a good guy but turned out to be a bad guy this whole time. And now we got another one, a speed god named Savitar, and I'm kind of disappointed that's another bad guy who's a speedster. I mean, can we get a little original with the bad guys? I know the Flash doesn't have much villainous bad guys, like, like Batman has Joker, and you all know that Joker's like batshitake crazy, right? And I know that most, if not all, of the Flash's villains are not as sinister-like as Batman's per se, but come on, this is the third villain of Flash, and it's another speedster thing. I am just saying. Come on, you guys. But anyway, Savitar does get stopped, and Flash gets saved by Cisco and a very unrelenting Caitlin, because she doesn't want to use her powers. Because remember, when Caitlin had that video chat with her mom told Caitlin the more she uses her powers, the more she becomes Killer Frost, right? And because of that, she's most likely very reluctant to use her powers. But, Cisco needed help, so Caitlin reluctantly helped by using her powers. And unfortunately, because she used her powers, Caitlin's Killer Frost persona pretty much takes over her own persona. Like, it pretty much solidified what I said in the last season, the last episodes that showed Caitlin using her powers. In my honest opinion, I think that Killer Frost, I honestly said out in the previous videos, that I think that her Killer Frost powers comes with a separate personality. And it pretty much confirmed it here in a way, because the fact that she used her powers to help Cisco help Flash against Savitar, a whole different persona took over. Literally, Killer Frost persona took over her, and like, she wasn't our Caitlin anymore. She was this ruthless Killer Frost, right? And apparently one of Alchemy's henchmen was taken into custody at the police station, and Killer Frost shows up and ends up, I don't know what she does to that henchman, but she ends up sneaking into the police department where they have one of Alchemy's henchmen. She interrogates him, she freezes the cameras, and then all of a sudden, she's like, "You should be afraid of me," and then all of a sudden, we're outside the door of where she was, and all you hear is the dude screaming, right? And of course, the police hears it, they come in the room. While they're going into the room, Caitlin notices, people are coming, so she creates like a fog with her ice powers. So when they go in the room, they don't notice her like slip out of the room, right? And then she freezes the door, only to run into poor Julian, who just happens to be in the room next to the interrogation room. It's like, this guy, it's just not his day, is it? It really isn't. But she pretty much kidnaps Julian in a way, and she's like, the reason why she interrogated Alchemy's henchman is because she wants to find Alchemy, and apparently that's also the reason why she kidnapped Julian, to use his smarts to try to locate any other Alchemy henchmen to get to Alchemy. And apparently the reason why she's looking for Alchemy is because she believes that because Alchemy is the one giving people powers, she believes that if he can give powers, she believes that Alchemy could also take powers away, right? Which seems like a plausible thing. I mean, you would think that if someone can grant you powers, they could easily take your powers away. I'm just saying. It's like a double-edged sword kind of thing, In all honesty, I think that's legit. Because why have the power to give other people powers if you can't take their powers away? You gave them the gift. I don't see why you couldn't have the powers to take that gift away. I'm just saying, I don't know what in this show what Dr. Alchemy can do. So for all we know, he could actually have the powers of taking powers away, but we have never seen it before. Or maybe it could be a dormant power, like it's a power that he has but just isn't aware of it. Nah. He either has the power and hasn't used it, has the power and is unaware of it and it's dormant, or he doesn't have that power at all and he just gives people powers. But anyway, they managed to apprehend her. It was pretty funny because when Barry showed up, Julian's all like, knock her out, and all that stuff. He ends up knocking him out and trying to get Caitlin, but unfortunately, police arrive because, they're looking for Julian. And, he's trying to beg Caitlin, all that stuff, and she ends up putting a giant icicle in his leg that apparently, since, she's a doctor, she knows will take a while to heal, even with his super healing. But, they managed, while Julian was kidnapped, he did manage to find 2 henchmen that Alchemy had and gave the locations to her, and she did freeze up the laptop because he did signal for the police at that time, so that's how they got there. But anyway, they split up into teams. Detective West and HR go to one of the guys, while I believe Barry and Cisco, was it Barry and Cisco? They go to the other one, and actually, beforehand, I'm so sorry, I forgot to mention, when Barry went to get Julian away from Caitlin, they did manage to hack the cameras. Like, Team Flash did manage to hack the cameras to listen to the conversation between Barry and Caitlin while Julian was knocked out. And Caitlin did reveal that Barry was responsible for Cisco's brother Dante's death. Because remember, before Barry created Flashpoint, Dante was alive and well, and then Barry created Flashpoint and then redid it again, and all of a sudden Caitlin got powers and Dante ended up dead, and Caitlin actually revealed that while she was having that conversation with Barry while Julian was knocked out. And because of that, Cisco went to Barry to see if it was actually true, and unfortunately Barry had no choice but to tell him, yeah, it is true, and that causes a little friction between the two, right? To the point where when Barry and Cisco were sent to the other alchemy henchman house, they were kind of at odds with each other, but Caitlin ends up fighting Barry to the point where she actually kisses him and he like freezes like crazy, and Cisco shows up, tells Barry how to get rid of the freezing moment, and manages to stop Caitlin. They do imprison her in the particle accelerator, but while that's happening, Detective West saw that, he was all scared that everything that's happening to Caitlin might happen to Wally because he's in that cocoon. So he asked HR to help him break Wally out of the cocoon, and unfortunately, because of him, Wally breaks out of the cocoon a little too early. He is shown with speedster powers, but because his mind is not catching up with his body, he's very confused and he like just takes off. And so Barry figures out, the only person that could help Wally in his condition at the moment is Caitlin, because she's a doctor, right? And she's dealt with a speedster like Barry. And so Barry ends up, releasing her from the particle accelerator prison to help track Wally down. And I thought it was really interesting, this confrontation, because they're all watching through the cameras, Team Flash, while Barry's confronting Caitlin, like releasing her. And he's like, go on and kill me. And she literally has that ice pick. He's about to stab. And it's like, go on and kill me, but I know you're still in there. I know Caitlin's still in there. And I like the fact that it was Barry's voice that pretty much brought our Caitlin Snow out of the Killer Frost persona. And she literally embraces him and cries. And I thought that was a really beautiful friendship moment. I really love that moment. I was like, that is so cute. That's beyond cute. I wanted to call it a bromance. I don't know what... You know how two guys are like besties and you call it like a bromance and stuff like that? What would be a guy and a girl that are just friends? Because we all know Barry's with Iris. What would we call that? It's not a bromance, but they're like really good friends and I love it. They're like sibling relationship and I absolutely adore that. But they do manage to track Wally down because he ends up... Detective West is like, the old house that Wally used to live in with his mom. When she got sick, he always went there. So they ended up tracking him down there, and Caitlin ended up making a serum that will pretty much, return Wally to his normal state, right? The following day, though, Wally manages to embrace his new abilities as a speedster, and according to, I think, Cisco and Caitlin, he was faster than Barry when Barry first started out with his speeds, which is not surprising. Wally in the comics has always been fast. I don't think... in the comics, I don't believe he was faster than Barry in the comics, but he was always so amazingly fast as a speedster, so I am not surprised that Wally's very fast, but I'm also still quite worried that now that he has his powers, could Dr. Alchemy sink his fangs into him because of it? And am I running out of time? Not yet. But anyway, like I said, could Dr. Alchemy get his fangs into Wally like he did with the other people who got their powers from alchemy? You know what I mean? But anyway, Barry ends up visiting Julian in the hospital, and Julian, of course, knows Caitlin was the one who's the meta, right? And Barry basically begs Julian, please do not turn her in. She's a good person, all that stuff. And Julian, I was starting to like Julian, and he goes back into dickish mode because he's like, okay, fine. I won't rat out your friend, only if you quit your job at the CCPD. And I was like, dickish move, man. I was starting to like you, Julian, and you pulled this off? Are you for real right now? Basically, Barry's asking for a favor because Caitlin is a good person and all that stuff, and I understand that, Barry shouldn't be above the law and all that crud, but to blackmail him into quitting his job that he loves so much, dickish move, man. Just dickish move. But also, we find out at the end of the episode, because we hear Savitar talking to Julian. I was like, I knew it. I freaking knew it. Because we find out that Julian is Dr. freaking Alchemy. But anyway, this episode was freaking awesome. I loved it. And I'll talk more about it some other time, but I'm running out of time. So this is The Flash Season 3, Episode 7, titled Killer Flash. Peace out.